Chronos Odyssey is a brand new MMO coming from the lands of South Korea to bless players with a weird Souls-like combat framework meets World of Warcraft level design, making it feel unique amongst its competitors and for good reason. One look at those game trailers and you would think that this game was crafted by the gods of beautiful graphics themselves. The game genuinely looks way too good to be true, and it looks like that has ended up being exactly the case. And now people who've been waiting years for Chronos Odyssey are feeling, well, let's get into it. From Tech for Gamers, Chronos Odyssey closed beta shows significant visuals downgrade from 2023 reveal. I should preface this entire video by saying that Chronos Odyssey is currently in closed beta, and it's fully launching later this year. But what has been offered has put fans of this potential juggernaut of a game in a really bad mood, to put that lightly. So like I said, the game within its trailers looks absolutely insane. You're seeing it on screen here right now. And look, I'm not really an MMO guy myself, but even I have to admit that my interest went up every time I saw a new trailer for Chronos Odyssey, because it just looked awesome. The idea of like a massive open world game that is built upon the concepts of Souls-likes, but then it's framed in that MMO-like environment. I'm not gonna lie, that does sound awesome. And look, it's not all bad. Players, from what I can gather online, are saying that the game has really fun combat and actually really deep RPG systems that do expand and evolve as you play. So while it's not all bad, unfortunately the negatives do seem to be outweighing the positives here. Tech for Gamers had this screenshot in their article. As you can see, the game trailer on the left versus in-game on the right. And yep, it looks like two completely different games. Tech for Gamers also states that fans believe that this bait and switch is potential grounds for a lawsuit due to how misleading this all looks, although I doubt that would actually happen, because there's just so many whataboutisms and technical reasons for why the game looks like that in the screenshot. However, based on the gameplay that you're seeing, the game doesn't actually look that bad, mind you. Sure, okay, it's not blowing me away or anything, but I would chalk up that screenshot to likely be more so that specific player in question probably just having a terrible computer with lower specs than recommended to play Chronos than really anything else. And it's not surprising that your game is going to look like a potato when you're running it on a potato yourself. However, regardless, the game is getting trashed either way. Another YouTuber streamer named Nico Tulo, here's his Twitter profile here, he has extensively played the game himself and reviewed Chronos Odyssey during its closed beta, and he ended up giving the game a rating of a 2 out of 10, claiming that Chronos was everything that was wrong with current age MMOs, and he hopes the game and the entire genre dies. I'm not kidding. Here's a snippet of Nico with his thoughts on this.
Future MMORPGs will be just as bad as Chrono Odyssey, but also littered with gacha elements, pay to win, the whole shebang. I hope every new MMO that's coming out for the next 10 years is a fucking cash grab scam, so people will finally fucking wake up. Because clearly, eating shit every day for the past 10 years was not fucking enough. We need to have people scammed out of their money. We need people to have been stolen from, where a company just charges 50 times the money that you actually pay to win for fun. We need all of it. We need all of it. I hope this fucking genre dies in a burning fucking fire, and I'm gonna sit next to it smoking a fucking cigarette and just saying fuck yeah, finally. Because only then will this genre ever can improve.
As you heard, Nico thinks the entire MMO genre needs to pretty much just fail and die, so all the false promises and fake promotional trailers can be rightfully tossed away, so that in the future MMOs can be reborn, I guess, as something that is hopefully better, and more importantly, becoming products that don't lie to their players all the time. Nico claims that Chronos Odyssey is nothing more than a New World clone, which, if you don't know what that game is, it's another MMO that also promised to be the next big thing, of course, from Amazon of all people making that game. New World was released in 2021. It still exists despite it having lost the majority of its players since then, because again, like Chronos, New World made promises that it also couldn't keep, which is going to be a reoccurring theme here. Unfortunately, that does seem to be the de facto meta for most MMOs released in like the last 15 years and then some. Most of them always have beautiful trailers saying, yeah, we're gonna be that WoW killer, we're gonna change the whole genre, and then they never do. Maybe Final Fantasy XIV was probably the closest, however, even that game, which died in its original form, until it was taken offline, fixed, and then launched again as a Realm Reborn, has also lost players aplenty following its latest expansion, Dawntrail, from last year, which apparently starred some feline character as the main hero of the story instead of your player character. And by the way, that feline character was named Wook Lamat, and 14's poor expansion was received so badly that in March 2025, the actor player base dropped below 1 million concurrent players, which is, well, not good. Considering that 14, in case you didn't know, it's actually Square Enix's cash cow. And that game's profits alone keep Square Enix healthy, and if 14 were to die completely in the future, who knows what would happen to Square Enix as a functioning entity. So why I bring this up amidst the Chronos Odyssey backlash is pretty simple, which is that MMOs, for some reason, have a tendency to just lie to their players and overpromise and then underdeliver almost constantly, and just lead to baffling design decisions that end up with mass layoffs or entire games or even studios just shutting down. And frankly, it just seems like MMOs like Chronos Odyssey and more just can't stop lying to their consumers. And it's a big problem in AAA development because I can't imagine being an MMO player exclusively myself, knowing that like 99% of the games that you're going to try out are never going to be what you paid to play. I just frankly find that to be insane. I did used to be actually a big Final Fantasy XIV player when A Realm Reborn launched. I leveled up multiple classes. I started as a Lancer, but then I mostly changed over and was a tank all the time. I loved playing Warrior in that game. But a combination of being far too grindy, which is pretty much every MMO these days, and a toxic player base that I dealt with at the time, it just led to me abandoning the game and never looking back. Maybe it's better now, but frankly, I don't really care enough to go back and check myself. Because I'm the kind of person where once I get burned on something in game, I tend to avoid anything like it at any cost. And look, okay, Chronos Odyssey looks cool, on paper at least, but in execution, it does seem to be doing the opposite. I love the idea of a Souls-like game with a huge open world that allows me to customize how I wield my weapons and all of that. That actually does sound awesome. But unfortunately, it comes with the added package of being an MMO, which means it's going to artificially increase the grind to absurd levels to make sure that player engagement sticks. The gamer even reported on Chronos as seen here, and after 10 hours with the game, they claimed that it was a janky mess with screen tearing, texture pop-ins, and at times the game is just downright ugly to look at. However, like others, the gamer confirms the actual combat of Chronos Odyssey is genuinely amazing, and that the in-depth ways of its combat and learning the new combos based on how you play is insanely rewarding, and that's cool, that should be praised. That means that this game has something here, something tangible that people can and should call out as a big positive and a win. Because let's be honest, guys, there's a massive, and I mean, and I'm not even like understating this, there is a massive appetite out there for a genuinely great MMO right now. New World, like I said, when it first launched, it broke 1 million concurrent players almost immediately. It didn't keep those players because a whole laundry list of problems, but the point remains that there's this huge untapped market of players that are out here, and they're not only being catered to, but they're being burned over and over again. And when the backlash is this brutal, with players like in that Tech for Gamers article that I referenced earlier, believing that Chronos Odyssey was so misrepresented and marketed that it should be grounds for a lawsuit, while parts of that may be hyperbole, part of that is kind of legit too. Because it's really only video games and sometimes a movie here or there that seems to market themselves as like one thing, and then they end up being something else entirely. Of course, the developer types will try to defend this practice by saying it's about defying and circumventing audience expectations. But to me, it just comes across as, you know that nobody would buy or play this if they actually knew what was in the package. So then they lie, and they use deceptive marketing to make people open their wallets, not really caring about the clickbait, if you will, nature of saying that Chronos Odyssey in this case will change your life, and then people play it, and then most players are just coming to the conclusion that Chronos is basically a New World clone. Maybe that Nico guy was right when he said that the entire genre just needs to be reset. And all of them, frankly, need to die before another genuinely great MMO can come out to, rock the heavens and actually be worth players' time again. Because from what I understand, Chronos won't be free to play at launch, but it will have an asking price. Nobody, as of this video going live anyways, at least knows what that price will be. So it could be $40, all the way up to full price, maybe even $80 to buy into before you even get to play it. But there's one thing for sure, as seen here on the PlayStation Store release, that the game is being, they're pushing it as a next generational action RPG with stunning visuals. Yet all the complaints online are that the game is not living up to what they're advertising. And so my next question, and you should let me know what you think about this too in the comments, is tell me this please. Why do MMOs do this all of the time? Why do they always lie like this to their customers? The only explanation that I can come to is that they know they need tons of people to buy into their games to keep it alive and profitable, obviously. So they do this clickbait stuff with, false promises to ensure that people buy in at release, hoping that they'll stay even when they, realize that what they got isn't what they advertised. Because like anything else, reputation obviously matters. And if people are burning Chronos down already with brutal beta reviews, what does that say about the studio or the game's future? Because the game needs to succeed or they're cooked pretty much. As Fandom Wire states in their article, the game is being touted as a massive disappointment by MMO players, as they further state here. Poor optimization, lack of DLSS and FSR, frame generation, frequent pop-in and draw distance issues, and unfinished lighting and animations are a few things that players have complained about. The horrible performance of the beta has even convinced some players not to buy the game at launch. And I know, some will say, oh well, it's a beta, they'll fix everything before launch. However, these days, I'm not so sure, guys. You see, this could be true if Chronos was coming out in like late 2026, but it isn't. Its current release date is somewhere near the end of 2025. Obviously, as of this video going live, we're over halfway done 2025 already. So that doesn't really give Chrono Studios a lot of time to fix what is clearly a lot big of a mess of problems that are largely baked into the game itself. Honestly, when a beta releases 6 months or less before a game officially releases, that's practically a demo at that point. It's a very good indicator of what that game will be like at release. Sure, the cope will come in and people will say, oh, it's a beta, it's based on an older version. But my question to that is, why give players a blatantly worse version of a product that you want them to buy into because it's a terrible marketing idea? It's like me giving you a pizza with expired meat on it and you go, yeah, this is gross, and then me going, well, that wasn't the real pizza, so maybe don't be so critical. Doesn't really make any sense, right? How would I make you buy a pizza in the future? Then again, the game's founder and CEO, Bong Gun Bay, I hope I said that right, even confirmed as seen here, that the version players played in the beta, of course, was an older build of the game. Again, proving that this tactic never works. Why give players a version of the game you know is way worse than what you claim to have at your studio right now? I think it would be better to not have the beta until you're actually confident what's being released to your players is going to give you that positive reception that you need instead of, what has happened here. But Bong Gong Bay would respond to the critical feedback as well on Twitter in a pinned comment in which they said, I spent a great deal of time monitoring every live stream on Twitch and YouTube. On the final day in particular, I stayed up for nearly 24 hours straight watching player reactions and feedback in real time. Together with our directors and our vice president, we had many deep and thoughtful discussions. We are truly wholeheartedly committed to this game. Please look forward to the upcoming videos, developer notes, and future announcements. And then at the end there, they promised that Chrono Odyssey's next playtest will have a far more, better optimized and interesting version to come. And I mean, I hope so, because again, on paper, this game sounds amazing and looks amazing. Chrono Odyssey is like someone's dating profile. They look amazing. You're like, wow, I can't wait to meet them. And then you meet them in person, and then they go, oh yeah, the photos that I use in my profile, they were from 5 years ago. Like, yeah, we can tell, because my God, dude, what the hell? Look, companies and online dating profiles, may I add, because why not, they need to stop catfishing potential users like this, because it never ends well at all. And the gamers said also in their article here that players feel as if the game itself is just straight up copy and pasted. Again, how does this get past the CEO and more who are investing millions of dollars into games like this? You must know that people will notice these things. Do they really think that people are this stupid? MMO players especially are like some of the most hardcore and intelligent kind of players around from my own experience. And if anyone is going to notice that you're swindling them with nonsense, it's gonna be them. For example, here's Twitch streamer Nosferatu X playing Chronos Odyssey, and just watch this.
What is this? What is
That's
happening
the literal
here?
siege camp from New World.
Is it really?
Before you attack, yeah.
Oh, are you timing
Literal
the
copy-
yeah?
No,
Someone
no,
invite me to party again, but like, yeah, if the castle's here, that means the siege camp should be across, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It fucking
Oh,
is, bro.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Oh my
I know
god.
what it looks like. Is this exactly copy paste?
Yeah, it's
Pretty much,
basically
yeah.
just copy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the
No, no,
shops
I-
on the
like-
side by the door.
Yeah, you have
it's
3
New
doors
World.
out, and this is where you stage your like attack, and then like you go fight the other 50 people on
Like,
the
even
other
in New World,
side.
it's this little.
It's
hold on,
literally
you-
this, yeah.
You even have this platform in this table right here.
Yep.
Really?
Oh my god.
It's 1-to-1,
Holy
bro.
shit.
Like even to when you go outside
Why
to
would
the
it like?
front.
Dude, hold on, bro. When I asked him, what games did you take inspiration from? Why did he not say New World?
As you saw, Nosferatu confirmed that Chronos Odyssey didn't just take inspiration from New World, they blatantly copied the exact level layout. With assets, sit, and even how many doors there are and how some are used and everything else. And again, my question is why? Why do this? And especially, why New World specifically? Because that game is not even doing super well either way, so why copy a game that is struggling? Wouldn't you rather copy something that is doing insanely successful things instead? Like, I understand having inspiration from other games, but that's just ridiculous. As this article again states, players are just appalled by how janky of a mess Chronos Odyssey is right now. The gamer would recite some Reddit posts, but none of them are really good, and then the game looks like it was made for mobile, that its UI is bad, it's janky. I mean, the list just keeps going on. And it's also yet another Unreal Engine 5 game that overpromises and underdelivers yet again for like the 10th time. It actually reminds me of the Witcher 4 showcase, which is unsurprisingly also being done in Unreal 5 as well. And everyone saw that, Witcher 4 showcase and went, oh my god, this looks amazing. And then we found out it wasn't in engine. It was a vertical slice and the game would not look like that at all. And then this just keeps on happening. Yet every time it does, game studios just go, oh well, sorry, our bad, and then continue like nothing happened. But the issue is that they're creating expectations that they know they can't reach. And look, it's not like I want Witcher 4 or Chronos Odyssey to be bad games, but it would be nice for the game to look and play as good as you advertise it to be. However, some users are claiming it's YouTubers who are to blame for the game's poor reception as seen here. And I find this honestly disingenuous and sad because it's not YouTubers' faults that the game has a bad reception. It's the studio and the publisher. I never understood wanting to white knight for corporations that clearly don't care about you in the first place. And frankly, it's because of YouTubers and streamers and more, like just users in general, that you are able to see these games in real time with no fancy edits or smoke and mirrors hiding all the problems. And besides that, what would exactly be the alternative here? A game like Chronos Odyssey comes out. And then what? Nobody calls out or knows that it's a janky mess with poor optimization that rips entire concepts from other games like a New World? And then it just releases and people buy into it thinking that it'll be like those trailers that they saw when it isn't actually like that at all? Or the other option is that these things get documented, called out, and criticized so that they can be fixed so you get a substantially better product in the future that does not clickbait you into opening your wallet. It's not YouTubers' faults when a game like this performs poorly like this. Whatever YouTuber it is, they didn't make that game. They're just showing you what's in it is all. And I think the only people who were upset that YouTubers, or I guess the internet at large even has a voice to begin with, are the people who would benefit from that silence so that they can lie and make millions off gullible and vulnerable customers instead. Because like I said, I don't want games to fail, I want them to be great, but sometimes they can't be unless we talk about it and inform people like this video right now is doing. Because in my opinion, you all deserve better. You all deserve 100% of a functioning product if you're expected to pay 100% of the money up front. And that any other alternative is just gaslighting motives that are forced by people who benefit from you staying in the dark. And frankly, I don't think that's a good way to go about things. You all deserve the best games possible, and no white knighting from people is gonna stop me from saying that. I understand there's real people behind these games, and a majority of them have no say in what gets finalized. I understand that, believe me. Which is also why it's very important to be someone like me in that gray space where these executives with their millions of dollars can't exactly tell someone like me what to think or say or do, because the problem with YouTubers and streamers and etc. It's really simple. They're mad that they can't control us, and that scares them because they operate in a world where they do in fact control mostly everything in their professional lives. But either way, you all deserve the best games possible, and I do hope that Chronos Odyssey does take these criticisms to heart and gives players the game that they so desperately deserve, because the industry is far too cooked these days as is. And the MMO market especially continues to stay this untapped, but does this leave the door wide open for someone to just make a game that can capitalize on it all? But for that game to exist, if you ask me, that means that the false promises and the bad optimization, they must be erased. Otherwise, history will keep repeating itself, and AAA must stop lying to consumers and start being truthful to their players instead. But what do you think? Comment below, subscribe, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.